Good morning, Year 9. Let's just pop this on Teams. She's good to go. Let's give you a minute or so just to join. Okay, so plan of action for today is we are going to go through the Berlin blockade and airlift. I have attached on your work a clip of a historically accurate version of the Berlin blockade and airlift that you need to watch. I've also attached a not so historically accurate but funny clip of me acting it out when I was your age at the Berlin Airlift. So that's all there ready for you to have a look at. And then we will go through the story today. So if you are struggling to see those clips, at least you'll know what I'm talking about with with the story. Excuse me. And then I will go through the color coding exercise and yeah, so that's that really. Right then, apologies first of all if you can hear any banging or noise or anything going on. That is totally beyond my control. I'm isolating with my parents and they are having their a new fence put up, so there is a lot of building work going on and there is nowhere in the house that I can go without there being some form of noise. So apologies. Right there. Berlin Airlift. So we start our story then with the Berlin blockade. That is the place that we're going to start, is the blockade itself. Right then, let's get going. So we've had the Truman Doctrine and Comic-Con and Common Form. We did those on Friday or last week. And now it's all been talk so far. There's all been a lot of tension in terms of talking. There's not been any action, as it were. It's been more kind of all talk, no action. Now we need that to change. So we had Germany that was divided into 4. So let's say this is Germany. This is Berlin. And it's divided into 4. So we've got the UK, the USA, France, and the USSR. They've all got a section. Brilliant. The same goes for here. So it's equally divided. Now at the Potsdam Conference and and previous conferences, they had agreed that they would be talking to one another, that if anything was going to be decided in terms of Germany, they had to tell one another. It was very important that they would talk and keep the lines of communication open when it came to Germany, particularly now that there were 4 zones. Let's just turn you straight again. So these 4 zones. Well, I'm afraid Britain and France and the USA don't really keep to that. I'm just going to stand across. I think it might be slightly easier this way. Now, they are obviously all capitalist countries, these 3 here. They've got the communism in the corner, and they get on a lot easier. Now, although Berlin fell, let's put that into the eastern zone. Let's give it a nice blue dot. It's somewhere around here. Even though Berlin, this blue dot, is in the USSR zone, we've still got it divided into 4 because that was the capital city. It only seemed to be fair. Now, the West wanted economic recovery. They wanted to help Germany, didn't want to punish them. Whereas the USSR was very wary about future attacks. Oh, excuse me. And it was all very the USSR were very scared, as what I'm getting at. And it was very difficult that Berlin was the only kind of point of capitalism behind the Iron Curtain. And that was quite scary for Stalin. As you can imagine, they've got this utopia of capitalism right in the heart of communism, and it looks really bad on Stalin. So Stalin's got these fears, okay, that he feels when it comes to the Berlin situation. Pop that up there. So he's fearful of capitalism and what it means to have a massive heart of capitalism in his zone. And then Britain and America have quite a close relationship. We still do today. We've known as a special relationship. And they get talking, and they decide that actually, okay, in 1947, we are going to merge our zones. And the UK and the USA are going to rule one zone together. Now that is a lovely word called bizonia, meaning two zones into one. So they merge their zones together. Slight issue though, they merge the zones together and don't tell Stalin. So Stalin's a bit like, hang on a minute, one sec. So you've got this Truman Doctrine going on. You've got the Marshall Aid going on. In fact, you've got an Iron Curtain speech going on. Oh no! We're meant to be working together, and you've merged the zones without telling me. Are you all right, bruv? So Stalin's not happy about it. And to be fair to the man, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. So it makes him increasingly paranoid. Later on that year, then let's get another colour. Let's get purple. Later on in that year, in 47, France are like, oh, so Britain and America, you've got a zone together. Wouldn't it be nice if I could get in on the act? Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't it be great if we could join forces? And Britain and America are like, yeah, okay. Try again, miss. And so we've now got 3 out of the 4 zones have merged together, and it's called trizonia. So again, Stalin's not told, and he's like, I thought it was a joke last time. It was really funny, this joke that you did last time, when you merged your zones and didn't tell me. Really funny that you've done it again. So now there is a clear, it's gone from being the UK, France, and America running these zones individually to it being an ally. Oh, come on. Let's get this off. There we go. To now it being a Western ally run zone. So we've got this really good Western Berlin in a very communist Eastern zone, and they all run it together. Now, Stalin is, quite frankly, at this point, not impressed. And, you know I'm a little bit biased towards Stalin, and he's my fave. He is not happy about it. He's kind of like, right, you've stabbed me in the back once. Shame on you. You stabbed me in the back twice. Shame on me. I'm not going to stand for this again. And to be fair to him, he is, you know, pretty mad. I don't blame him. And he kind of then watches and waits to see what goes on with the Western Zone and seeing how they're going to manage it. Well, in early 48, I don't have a date for you. You don't really need to know it. In early 1948, the three Western powers to say, right, well, we've got a different currency in one bit because it's British and a different currency in American bit because it's American. We got another bit in the French bit because it's obviously French. And I know we've kind of joined our zones together, but we've still got three different currencies. Wouldn't it be really a better idea if we all sort of came up with a new currency and put that in place? And they're all like, yeah, let's do it. That's such a great idea. Woo! And they make a new currency. Slight issue. They don't have Stalin. And at this point, Stalin is like, absolutely not. Are you kidding me? This is not funny. You've not told me about the joining of 2 zones. Never mind the joining of 3 zones. And now you've got a new currency without telling me. And the whole part of the Grand Alliance was that we were meant to tell each other everything so there wasn't tension, so it wouldn't start a new war. Absolutely not. You lot are backstabbers. You jog on. And to be fair to the man, I don't blame him. So on the 24th of June, let's go back to my blue here. Okay, so on the 24th of June, Stalin has had enough. He is done. He is over being stabbed in the back by the Western powers, by not being told anything. He is over it. Done. Boom. No more. So he then sets up what we call a blockade. He blockades Berlin. And that was done in order to try and starve the Allies out of Berlin. So you're probably asking, well, Miss, how does he blockade Berlin? What does that entail? Welcome to my wonderful drawing skills. Hello. You're right? I can't see.
Oh, sorry then. I am going to go now. The dogs are outside with the man.
Yeah, where are you going? Oh, okay, yeah.
So he's looking after the dogs.
Okay, because I can't.
I know, they should be back soon.
Okay. Please excuse me. If you couldn't tell what this was, it's a railway. Obviously, that's quite obvious what matters. So Berlin had 3 main ways of getting supplies into the city. That was through the railway, the roads, and the canals. Well, Stalin places Soviet tanks at the start and at different points on these roads, railways, and canals into Berlin from the west. Okay. Now he cut all of those off in order to try and starve them out because he was sick of it. He wanted the Western powers out of Berlin. They had this kind of idea of capitalism in the West, in the heart of the USSR's section, and he was done. He was over it. No, thank you. We are over it. And he tries to then cut them off. So, as you can imagine, President Truman is not overly happy about this. He's like, right, well, we haven't done anything wrong. They had. You haven't done anything wrong. why is Stalin cutting off Western Berlin? They're going to starve. We need to show the people of Berlin, the people of Germany, that we will fight for them, that we will look after them, and that, you know, that is that we won't abandon them. So there was one other way that they could get supplies in, and that is through the air. Let me just rub this off. It will take me a couple of minutes because this board's not the best, and then I'll be with you to talk about the airlift. It's not the easiest. I miss my board. Okay, now I have a clean board, we can talk about the airlift. So, 24th June, Stalin has blockaded, I'll put that back up there, has blockaded Western Berlin from the Western Allies. Truman, not happy about this at all, responds on the 28th of June, so 4 days later. Now, Truman responds in quite a specific way. He shows that he's serious about his doctrine. He is very prepared to enforce it. Kind of Berlin is a very big test case for him, and he wanted it to be a symbol of freedom behind the Iron Curtain. So on the 28th of June, he announces and begins an airlift of supplies. Now, Truman and the Western Allies, so Britain, France, and America, literally fly in supplies from their country or from West Germany to Western Berlin. Stalin hasn't shut any airports, and that's, you know, he hasn't shut any airports at all. So that's the only way that they can get in to the West, because that's their only vehicle, really. Now, at the height of the crisis, there was one plane landing every 3 minutes. So landing into Western Berlin, dropping off supplies, and flying off in 3 minutes. Now, if you've ever been on a plane, you will know that is a very, very quick turnaround. That when you are taxiing on an aircraft in the airport, it takes about 10 minutes to get from where you got on the plane to the runway, and then takes a good 20 minutes for you to get up in the air. And then if you have been fortunate, if you then when you've landed, it's taken a good hour. You've had the seatbelt sign on for an hour to say that you are landing, and it takes a good 10 minutes to hit the ground running. So to think about that, you've then got a plane landing in West Berlin one every 3 minutes is no mean feat. It was a very, very difficult operation, as you can imagine. It had to be timed to perfection. And unfortunately, 79 US and British pilots did actually die in this because it was so difficult. Planes were flying at day, night. They were given an exact time to land, like I said, at 90-second intervals, which is a minute and a half. So they should be down and up within 3 minutes. They had 90 seconds to land and unload. And the Soviet planes flew across the air corridors, but didn't interfere. And the Soviet Union really was within bombing range, but it was waiting kind of for the Soviets to act first before the British or the French would react. Now, in September, to give you a nice stat, because I do love a stat. Hello, whoever has joined. I don't know who's joined, but hello. By September, 4,600 tons of supplies were being imported every single day. But this was not enough, okay? The Soviet Union tried to persuade people to move from the west to the east because there were so many shortages. And they were hoping that the winter would disrupt this particular operation. It unfortunately didn't. Now, the peak of the crisis, happened in April. Now, on the 16th to the 17th of April, 1949, okay, 13,000 tons of supplies went in. In 24 hours and 1,400 flights. That is major, okay? Now, although the West did really well to get this amount of supplies in and really tried to keep West Berlin running, there were massive shortages. So from food to oil to clothing, building materials. And many people, did decide to leave. 3% of those people decided to go to the east. What a disastrous mistake. But a lot of people just put up with it and saw the effort that was being made. So there were still shortages, and it wasn't the best, all right? But never once did Stalin shoot down any of the planes. So it carried on. It lasted, this whole thing, for 10 months. Okay? It lasted for 10 months. Because it starts at the end of June, and it finishes. Should we go for purple here? Stalin ends the blockade. He realizes that they're not going to give up. He hadn't starved out the Berliners. He had, in fact, encouraged the West, and realizes that he is not going to win this one unless he starts World War III, which he's not prepared to do because the Soviet Union can't really afford it. And he calls it quits. He ends it, and then it is all over. Now, the people of Berlin rejoice. That night there's lots of parties and there's lots of celebrations in the streets that night, as you can imagine. Now, do I go on to, just want to double check, do I go on to consequences today, or did I split that into two? One second, just want to check that I'm not going too far. No, we'll do that next lesson. So we'll look at the consequences next lesson, next Monday, rather than go through the consequences now. So that's the event itself. Once you have then looked at the event in detail, either through the video of the embarrassing one or the actual proper one, and use this video, I would like you then to have a go at this particular slide. Oh, she's got it up. Here we go. Bring it up for you. This one here, look. Sorry about my cracked screen. Hey. What I'd like you to do then is colour code the different squares into 3 different sections, please. What caused the Berlin blockade? Things that made Stalin blockade Berlin off. What in those things would you say was a cause of the crisis? What made it happen? Then you've got two types of consequences. The first is a social consequence, and I mean, okay, of the blockade and the airlift, when I'm saying a social consequences, how did it directly impact the people of Berlin? How did it directly impact the people of Berlin? Meaning, how were the ordinary person like you, me, and your families, how were they affected by this blockade and the subsequent airlift? The other consequence I want you to look at is a political consequence. How did it affect the Allies? How did it affect the Soviet Union? How did it affect Germany as a country? The political things, okay? Did it cause tension? Did it not? Did it strengthen allies? That sort of thing. How did the political, so how did the country, how was that affected by the Berlin crisis? There is a challenge. I've just left it on there, but you don't have to do it. If there is a challenge, there is to make your own paper airplane for the West to use in the airlift. Record how far it goes, film in, you fly in the plane or recreate the Berlin airlift, it's up to you. The best one will get a prize from me. That is all from me, really. If you need any help, I am on Teams or email. If you need anything, please make sure you get your work into me. And anything you need, give me a shout. Have a good day. See you later.